In today's video, I'm just going to be discussing the Cadillac Escalade, give my 2 cents on the design evolution, and also ultimately come up with my version of what the next generation would look like, with emphasis on one of the more iconic designs and what I feel like is the better qualities of the design evolution. Here we have on the right, you can see its inception from the first generation all the way to the present day form, which is the facelifted fifth generation. There is also an electrified version. It's very similar to the gasoline powered one with some minor differences. But regardless, we have kind of all the generations here. And as you can tell by this picture on the left, I think the most iconic generation of the Escalade is the second generation. I mean, when this thing came out, it was featured in every rap video. A lot of the celebrities had it, and it was kind of what propelled the luxury SUV market, at least in part. Now, without going too far into this, because I could talk about this all day, what my focus is on is kind of bringing back the essence of this second generation into a concept, and then just making a cleaner design afterwards. So I think what makes the second generation stand apart from the rest is if you look at the angular lines, especially given that it's an older car, it was more angular. It did have a more boxy and square shape overall, which gave it a more of an aggressive stance, some presence on the road. Whereas after this generation, you can kind of see it evolved into a more longer rectangular shape. Now, I know there was a extended version of this, but still this had this flatter, wider look just based on the design. Now, that could be because they elongated the headlights here, made the car look taller, but essentially you can tell the body is just generally longer, and it has this soccer mom vibe to it. And again, that may be by design. Maybe they wanted to cater to that market and go a little bit less away from the flashy market, which was probably a little bit more niche. But regardless, I do like the essential essence of this generation out of all of these other ones. The first generation was also very square and boxy, but you can tell it's a little dated. It wasn't as unique, and it kind of had like a rebadged Suburban or GMC look to it. Although the second generation and onwards, they're all rebadged, essentially Suburbans, but the second generation looked far more unique from anything else. Now, without further ado, I just wanted to show you my brief concept that I came up with the other day, and this was basically taking all the features that I liked of the second generation and kind of modernizing it a little bit. Now, as you can see, what I've done is I kind of incorporated the headlights into the grille. I think the Cadillac grille is very iconic. It's unique. It has this almost upside down trapezoid shape to it. I eliminated a lot of the curves that kind of make it a little bit dated, while again trying to not make it look very polygonal. So again, that's a balance that it's kind of fun to work with. I've kind of flattened the bumper a little bit. Again, I can talk about this all day, but essentially what I really wanted to do is capture the essence of it, and I think this does that. So what I'm going to do next is kind of take this concept and overlay its lines onto the second generation, just so that the proportions are more accurate. So I'll keep this in reference on the side here. And then I have a smaller version of this image here that I'm gonna go over with tracing paper, but I'm gonna overlay these design features onto this proportion. So I'm not really gonna be copying this, although the wheelbase and the length of the car and the proportions are gonna be very much identical, and that's the whole point of this. Just gonna make sure it can be visible. I'll just start with the wheels. Again, this is still gonna be rough, but it's gonna look less of a sketch than this one, because this was just done freehand. So I'll keep the wheels same length, same size. Now the rims might be bigger, but again, that's kind of not really important to the overall design. I usually don't draw the shape of the rims. The height of the car, I'll probably keep the same. And now you can probably see the image underneath, which is kind of like the point of this. You can see what changes I'm going to be doing to it. I'm going to be probably lowering the bumper a little bit more, even though this car looks a little bit slammed. Again, it's more of a rough sketch. The actual overall SUV is going to be having a taller body height. Again, more angular lines. Now, one thing I did notice, and I kind of haven't talked about yet, is this second generation design had this kind of unique Coke bottle shaped. It's a very muscle car classic design feature. Coke bottle shaped belt line, as you can see here, whereas the previous generation actually had a more straight line, and then later on they had a straight line. I generally prefer a straight line belt line, but I kind of thought it would be cool to kind of keep some of the interesting flares of this and kind of give it my own take on it. If you saw my BMW video, I mean, you kind of see that lately there's been a lot of manufacturers that do like throwback designs. That's what they've done with the i350, and try to go after that iconic first generation BMW look. So I think the essence of the Escalade is really captured in the second generation. So again, I like to capture a lot of its essence. And so what I do here to modernize it is take that classic Coke bottle belt line and just like make it a little bit more angular. So wherever it rises and dips on the C and B pillars, I'm going to just make it more of a sharper contrast. So it's going to be a little bit more like a zigzag. I'll probably keep the height of the hood roughly the same. Now, in this design, the body protrudes a little bit from the D pillar. I'll probably keep that. The angle of D pillar is a little bit more taller, gives it a little bit more of a square shape. Now, there is like a forward slanting tilt on the roof, so the back looks a little bit taller. I kind of want to keep that. It's a little bit kind of like a Discovery, but I mean, not to that extent. A Land Rover Discovery, but anyways, so the pillars on the A side, I'm going to keep the lines virtually the same. And again, this is going to be a little bit rough, but again, the proportions are going to be matching. The front lights are going to be a little bit angled forward. This is going to be the main iconic, essentially face of the car. And you're going to see the bumper is going to be eliminated virtually. And again, the ride height is going to be the same. So I'm going to be following those same lines. Now, as you can see, overall, lately the trend's been to kind of eliminate the bumpers, but sometimes it's not done well. And this is a very common theme amongst all manufacturers. They try to eliminate the bumper to give it a more modern design, but then with that empty space, sometimes they don't know what to do with it, and it ends up not looking good. Like you can tell in this fourth generation, they virtually eliminated the bumper protrusion. And so in order to fill that gap, they kind of extended the grille down, made it a lot longer, and then they added this vent underneath. And in my opinion, that doesn't really look good. And then later on, they've kind of added all these angles and folds to kind of break up that space. But again, there's no flow to it. I generally like a more minimalistic design. And so sometimes if you don't do it right, just having the bumper looks a little bit better. So I'm just going to be having like a flattened type of bumper. You'll see obviously from this shape, it almost looks like there's no bumper, but you can just have a little bit of a crease, because at the end of the day, these all have a reinforcement bar underneath and there is still a bumper on it. It's just kind of masked. And so the next part of this design, which I think is very important to the overall look of the car, is the grille. What kind of made me think this would work, because I mean, this is essentially a very large front grille with the headlights incorporated into it, and I thought this wouldn't really work, but then I see the Genesis GV70 on the road. If you don't know what that looks like, I have a picture of it here. You can see in this image, it's got a very large grille, and it's almost like a carbon copy of a Cadillac shaped grille. Now, Korean cars are notorious for kind of taking elements of what works and then combining them, because this to me looks like the body shape of a Bentley Bentayga with kind of the front grille of an Escalade. To me, I mean, I can go on about this on a whole separate video, but it's just a proof of concept that there are audaciously large front grills out there on the road. So it made me bold enough or courageous enough to kind of come up with this design and hopefully see if it works. Now, again, when I transfer this, some of the proportions are going to change. Again, I can do many variations of this later on, because I might look back at this and be like, okay, you know what, the grill is too wide or this line is too tall, and then just tweak it here and there. But essentially, I'm going to be keeping kind of things the same. So as you can see, the grill is taller in the middle, but it actually narrows in towards the ends, and that's kind of how I want it to be, so it doesn't look overly large. And then it does have like a forward rake to it, so maybe even a curve around the edges. Kind of pleased with how that looks. And then there's still going to be a center line there, and then maybe a little flat line kind of where you see this crease, but it'll be more angular and more subtle, so it'll be like maybe like that. Then what I've done is, I don't like the amount of louvers in this, especially if I'm going to be incorporating headlights into one of these sections. I reduced the amount of louvers in there, so I've done it into, split into thirds. And so there's going to be roughly 3 rows. Again, I'm trying to avoid putting my head in the camera. Hopefully it's not. So I've already have the grill with this vertical line, and I'm going to have it again roughly where I want the headlights to kind of end. So it'll look something like that. Now in here, there could be LEDs, there could be hidden bulbs, but again, I'm not exactly, that could be a whole other video of how I would design the actual headlight. But for all I know right now, it's going to be incorporated into this in some way, shape, or form. It might be just tinted. I mean, the world's your oyster when it comes to headlights. But again, I just want to get the overall shape of the car. So I'm kind of pleased with that grille design. I'm still going to incorporate the fog lights here, but what I'm going to do to balance out the top part of the grille, the heavy side of the front fascia, is I'm going to make relatively large fog lights. Well, this line probably wouldn't be shown from this angle, but essentially they'll be downward facing, large louver-like, vent-like shapes with 3 kind of fog lights here. Again, I don't know if you can tell, but this fog light looks like it's got at least 3 bulbs or 3 components to it. So we'll kind of keep that, but make it a little bit rounder to kind of break up or contrast the angular lines. Again, I don't want this to end up looking like a polygon. As far as the wheel wells, they're going to be the same shape, so that's not going to be really an issue. And essentially the front bumper is kind of going to be done like that. Now, with regards to the cladding, if you can tell, this Escalade has some very large cladding with some angular folds or creases, and then followed by curves. I think what I would do just to switch this up is, I would like the body to have its natural cladding, not like these fender guards, for lack of a better term. But just like in this design, I like the sides to come out a little bit, and then maybe just blend into the body. Same thing back here. Have like a wide body kit, and then I'll probably still have some cladding as well, but it'll be a little bit more subtle maybe. And then I'll have this line, this body line. It's a little bit maybe too high for me, so I probably lower it. And then I'll probably just blend off into the back. Yeah, so we'll just add in the C and B pillars right where the points go roughly. Now I have the body protruded on the D pillar, A, B, C, D pillar here. So maybe I could put a angular light in here that'll kind of match other models of the Cadillac. I'm not so sure. Maybe this is a front quarter view. Maybe in another video I would do the rear quarter view and just come up with a concept of on its own that'll kind of match this. But essentially, I'm not opposed to having like a light stick out. It's very Cadillac-esque. We'll keep the hood line roughly the same. Again, I can have another iteration of this, maybe another video, if I'm not so pleased with all the proportions, where I would shift any of these lines, like raise the hood, lower it, change the grill up a little bit. But so far it looks okay to me, kind of very much in line with this concept. I'll kind of draw the bottom, the ground, just to have a better reference of the car. I don't usually put the mirrors because I think they're kind of inconsequential to the overall design. And you can kind of see over the years, they haven't really changed much. But if I were to add, it would probably be a more angular type of mirror. So it would kind of follow this line, but it would be a little bit more angular. Kind of like that. And then maybe I'd add like a curved line to it just to kind of break it up a little bit. But yeah, now again, later on, if I wanted, I could maybe just to break up these lines, instead of having like a one straight horizontal line here, I could lower where the headlights start to kind of emphasize that Cadillac grille a little bit. But again, that's for maybe another video. But I think I have all the lines here, so I'm just going to briefly lift off and lift the image from underneath and see how it looks. So if you can tell here, the proportions of this are a lot more accurate of an SUV. I'm actually very pleased with this design. I am happy with how the grille came out. To me, it doesn't look so gaudy, but again, if I wanted to make it less, maybe I could bring down these lights just a little bit so it's not a horizontal line, but or I could kind of like bring in another line, kind of like this crease over here at the top of the hood. Again, there's a lot of minor iterations I can do to kind of tweak this a little bit. I'm not even sure about this body line extending out in the back. It might be too much of a flare. I kind of like it more minimalistic, but I could also just like blend this in back into the D pillar like that. But overall, again, I'm happy with this. This is just my take. Let me know what you think. If you hate it or love it, let me know in the comments. Again, that's fair game. And thank you for watching.